Hi, you're with Scott. I'm Ganja Kid. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear and your left ear. This is in mono. Asmongold, how Gacha games trick players into spending thousands. Asmongold reacts to Atrioc. Let's go. Asmongold recently spent over $1,000 in Tower of Fantasy. I play Genshin Impact months and months and months, all the way through the entire main story. Got loads of characters, never spent a penny. Well, I've been to the bathroom, but I won't swipe for the internet game. You understand what I'm saying? So, both got a different perspective on it. Going to learn about gachas. I think I already know a few of these tricks, but I'll be interested to see if there's anything new to me. And I want to react. And I want to react with Asmon in context, because we've been talking about his journey not playing Genshin Impact so far recently. So we'll be talking about that. Okay, that's my introduction. And just for us here on stream, do you remember I made a little react and I said, we talked about Asmon and gambling. And I said that, it might be a way of him allowing himself to gamble on stream. And we had a conversation. I think Snips was talking to me, and the video I was reacting to is over a year old. Okay, that's cool. It's him that I want as well. It's his perspective on it, because I like his machinations in his mind. So I'd like to hear his perspective, and I'm going to react really to him reacting to this, but also I'm reacting to this. It's all a big circle jerk, right? Look, the thing I also wanted to say is, I mentioned the other week that when you gamble, you have to increase the amount of money you gamble for it to mean anything, and that you might as well stick a zero on the end every time you. And it turned out we reacted to Asmon spends $100 in Tower of Fantasy, and then it went on, and I haven't reacted. I haven't done every single episode of his, but he went on to spend thousands, over 1,000. I don't know if you heard me counting. I did over 1,000. So. Have you already seen this video? Is this like rubbish content? If it's rubbish content, I don't have to do it at all. Let's see. Also, it's a good test to see if my fucking internet works, doesn't it? So I've got Genshin running in the background, and we're going to watch this.
What this is going to be.
The psychological warfare of gacha games.
That's what it's about.
And the tricks they use to part you from your money.
Sorry.
And how they're being adopted.
Right, my initial reaction, first of all, is this guy is fucking shouting at me. Like, why is he shouting at me?
As the future of video games. But first, I want to start by having you watch a very short video that maybe illustrates the point I'm trying to make.
Okay, he's quieting down now.
Make here
okay.
About gacha games.
Let me play the first chapter. What the hell is this? I have no idea what this is at all.
Before we go any further, there's something I should have said. Should have said this right at the start. Edit this right at the start. Cut. Edit this right at the start. I don't even think Genshin Impact is really a gacha game. Although of course it's a fucking gacha game. Oh, you get your characters through the gacha system. Oh, your wishes. Oh, you do your primos. Yeah, but Genshin Impact is like an ARPG, an action RPG, isn't it? Like an action role-playing game. Like you run around, you do all this stuff, you climb, you find chests, you level up, you gather characters through a gacha system. Oh, it's like for me, Genshin Impact is a wonderful ARPG with a gacha system tacked on the side for the monetization. But a gacha game for me would be, I put my money in, I get my egg out, and that's the game. That's like the whole thing of a gacha. Like, I want to show you this before we go any further, actually. The original, because it's Japanese, but it's not like, novel to Japan, is it? But that's a gacha machine. And so what you're looking at on the outside is, I want a dinosaur, or I want a transformer. And then you put your money in, you twist your thing, and you don't get a dinosaur or a transformer. You have to get lucky to get a dinosaur or a transformer. Gacha game. Gachapon. It's Japanese. So that's straightforward, isn't it? But also, like when I was a kid, we had Kinder Eggs. I've said this in a different video, but when I was a kid, we had Kinder Eggs. And that's a gacha system. You guarantee the chocolate, but is it a little picture? You guarantee the chocolate, but you don't guarantee what's in the egg, do you? So that's a gacha system. It's little pictures again today. There was another, like we had a sort of, I don't know if this is the Black, this won't come up, Black Country Museum arcade games. In the Black Country Museum, this is actually it as well. This is actually the fucking room. So this is going to make like very little sense really to everyone. But the Black Country Museum is a living museum in the UK. Oh, come on. Show me a big picture, baby. Show me a big picture. It's a living museum in the UK. It's like a place with all cobbled streets and old buildings, and they have these people that work there that dress up as old 1800s people, and you walk around and you play as a kid would in the 1800s. Right, you're walking around this living museum. You get the picture? And in the Black Country Museum, they've got this arcade hall, and in the 1800s, they did have like fruit machines and like, look at these things. Have a go. Flick your coin round and you might win something. I don't know if that's the exact one in the corner there. They might have took it out, but when I was a kid, they had one just like this, made out of wood, and at the bottom was a drawer. It looked like a cigarette machine. I don't know if shouldn't show this to kids on the internet. Have you ever seen a cigarette machine? Anyway, it looked like a cigarette machine, and it had a wooden drawer at the bottom, a drawer. And what I did was I put my hand in the drawer and up through the machine, and inside was all these little boxes, you know, ready lined up to eject when people put their money in. And I pulled out all the little boxes, and inside were all the toys. So I ripped the gacha machine. I've got my arm up inside it, and I pulled everything out because I'm naughty at the Black Country Museum. So that's gacha games. Actual gacha games are actually just the gacha game. So I don't believe Genshin Impact really, like, you know, in nowadays, okay, you're going to say gacha game, you're going to say computer game, where you get your characters through a process of wishing or, you know, rolling. Why can I not have big pictures again? Like, I should have a system on this Google where I can't get little pictures. Just don't show me little pictures. It just fucking annoys me. A gacha game is one where you get your characters. You know what we're talking about. Genshin Impact, all this. You get your characters. It's not just Genshin Impact, is it? There's loads of others. Notably at the moment, Tower of Fantasy. And you get your stuff through your wishes. But I've not spent any money. I have done some wishes in Genshin Impact. But to me, it's a what was I saying? It's an action RPG with a gacha mechanic attached for the monetization. And if you want all the different characters, I suppose I better show this now because fucking talking about it. All these different characters, I don't have them all. I don't have them, but I didn't spend any money and I've got loads. These ones the game gives you. I don't know, it's rubbish. The game gives you these for free, guarantee. No messing, and that really gives you that for free, really no messing. And then I've been lucky, so to speak, and got 1, 2, 3, 5 stars, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 additional characters myself. That's how I've done free to play for a couple of months. But if you want to wish for them, if you want to go and spend your money in this gacha system, it's here. It's a way of getting additional stuff, more characters, more stuff, but you don't need to do that at all to play the game. And if you never pressed the wish button and just went with the characters the game gives you, you'd still be able to play the game through. So it's an action RPG with a wish system attached. That's what it is. When you're in this game, when you're running around, when you're doing all this stuff, there's no gacha mechanic. Well, there aren't there? The artifacts. Kind of, well, that's the same as World of Warcraft, isn't it, when things drop from a boss? Well, there's kind of an RNG mechanic, but there's no gacha mechanics here. I'm not rolling on stuff necessarily in and out.
Time to act. In
the game, other than rewards from bosses, insofar as I kill a boss and I hope I get the thing I want, and if it's not that good, I'll kill the boss again and hope I get the thing I want. You know, RNG drops on certain artifacts, but other than that, it's not. Look, it's Breath of the Wild. It's running around. It's all this good stuff. It's exploration, it's fighting, it's leveling up. Gacha's not required for any of it. All of this is non-gacha. This bit is a gacha machine stuck on the side. So I will concede, absolutely I'll concede. I will concede that this is stuck on the side if you want to get extra characters. But I find it difficult to describe Genshin Impact as a gacha game when it's so much more. That would be like calling other game, like if you had to name every game by its microtransaction, or sorry, if you had to name every game, if you had to categorize every game primarily by its monetization aspects, then World of Warcraft would be a microtransactions game, or a subscription game maybe. No, it'd be a microtransactions game, would it? I don't know what you'd call it, but you wouldn't be able to call it an MMO in the same way as we're not calling Genshin Impact an ARPG, we're calling it a gacha game. So it seems strange to me that you'd have to have Like, can't it be both? I suppose it's both, isn't it? It's an ARPG with gacha monetization, but it seems strange that we would label it in just that one big stamp gacha, because you get all sorts of different gacha games. Like, these are strict, real, original, all sorts of different gacha games. Look, let's get back to the video.
Oh, the quality is bad again. I wonder why that keeps happening.
You want what you love, right?
Wait.
Okay, this is a bit difficult for me because it is all in Japanese, I think, and we're talking about this guy who's playing it on his phone. He's become emotionally invested in the stories of the characters first, and that's how he's got lured in there, saying you watch all this intro stuff and you really feel for the characters. Okay, fair enough. He's always playing the game on his phone.
If I'm awake, I'm usually...
I mean, I say fair enough. I don't think that's a good idea, to be wasting all your time and effort and energy on playing a game on your phone like that, but, you know, it's not my life, is it?
I think he's probably playing while he's driving too.
Whoa, you spent about 70k on the game. How do you do that? How do you not, like, how do you stay home and just play a game all the time and have 70k to burn? I don't understand that.
Pause. $70,000 on Fate Grand Order.
That's a lot of money. $70,000? Oh my god. You watched somebody else watch a video? Yeah, at the beginning he said he was going to play the video to look at it. This obviously isn't the majority of the video.
So also, like, I'll say this before anyone else does. It's clear this guy's got a problem. He's not just playing a game, not just spending like a couple of dollars here and there, not just, you know, he's got a problem, hasn't he? He's doing it all the time, every day. He's not doing anything else with his life, so he's obsessed with it, and he's spending an excessive amount of money, which I don't see how he's bringing that money in if he's always playing this game. So you'd say it doesn't matter what you're doing, you'd say that was a problem. It could be a gambling addiction, it could be a you could be spending all your money on chuffing going to the zoo every day. If you're always spending your money on going to the zoo every day, and everyone, like, you know, you couldn't stop feeding the penguins, people, it doesn't matter what it is, if people get obsessive about things, that could be considered a bit of a problem, couldn't it? Sometimes it's not, sometimes it's considered like commitment and drive and passion, but, you know, this clearly, I don't care, it doesn't have to be Fate Grand Order or any specific gacha. He's got a problem here, hasn't he, with what I perceive to be gambling mechanics, but
this is just something to illustrate the situation. Oh my god, that's a lot of fucking money. Wow.
To be clear, one AAA game,
yeah,
that took a studio hundreds of millions of dollars to make.
I'll just give this guy the courtesy of moving my chat over to the other side because he made the original video, so just do that. Feel a bit bad for him now. A man reacted to man, yeah. Do you know what? I do worry now already as we've got started in this. Maybe I should just watch the original video. But I'll try it like this first. I mean, I don't know. I'm not that experienced. But I'll tell you what, I'll be honest. If I put hashtag Asmongold in the video title on Ganji Cuts, it's going to help, isn't it? It's going to help better than if no Asmongold. So.
Cost $60. This person bought, I don't know, what's 70,000 divided by 60?
It's a lot.
Basically 1,200 copies. I just want you guys to get
his vote, like, that's the thing, right? Is like his vote on what kind of game should we make matters 1,200 times more than yours does. You keep that in mind.
A sense of
got a couple of points there then. So does it matter? It does to this particular kind of monetization, yeah. Is he really, but like, that doesn't matter to a studio who are not monetizing like this, does it? But in this specific instance, then these people who make this game will be more concerned with this guy spending 70 grand than somebody spending $12. But also, what this 12,000 copies of 1,200 copies of Hitman, or whatever it was, it's not the same. That's apples and oranges. Like, I've said this loads of times about Genshin Impact, which is that, you know, I expect usually to pay 40 quid for a game to have, I keep holding up an actual game to prove it, to have a game, I've still got that sealed, but to have an actual game in my hands and to play it, and then when it's finished, I own it still, and it's mine and all that. Yeah. But Genshin Impact's a 4-year online service. It's not it's not the same thing. It's apples and oranges there, and the money they're spending creating these online experiences, these new events, these further expansive maps, it surpasses what you can fit into a $40 cartridge. So apples and oranges there. It's a bit unfair of a comparison.
They say vote with your...
I'm finding myself defending the gacha game, defending Genshin Impact. Bearing in mind I went into this eyes open, prepared to rip it to pieces if it was predatory and disgusting. And thus far I've spent no money and not felt really compelled to.
Money?
Might be interested in this kind of model. Okay, that's the beginning of this presentation.
I just want to make the characters stronger.
I paid $500 getting one character, but I wanted to be level 5. So I ended up spending $2,500. Of course. Oh my god.
Nice.
Does he have a job?
Oh no.
His parents don't know how much money he's spent, and they think it's fine as long as he's having fun. I mean, it's all relative, isn't it? It depends how much money they've got, but I don't know. I don't know if it is fine. I don't know where he's getting the money from. That's an issue to me here. But in general, like, what's life about? You know, have some fun. It's okay, I think. But I don't think he necessarily, like, fun and being addicted to something. Like, he might say, oh, well, you know, I'm enjoying my heroin, so as long as I'm having fun. Well, like that, yeah. But if it's detrimental to your life, then maybe not necessarily that fun. Or there's a bigger question to ask. I don't know.
They think they don't know how much money he spent. Like, I don't know why people... The thing is, if you want to spend your money doing that kind of stuff, you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want. Like,
yeah.
I am actually okay with...
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think we should have regulations. I mean, we already do have regulations in society. The good kind of governance to say, well, this is predatory and damaging, and people are being manipulated psychologically here. So maybe we need to put some rules in place to protect people from predatory psychological manipulation. And I would say that should extend the, like, when I was a kid, I had adverts for cigarettes and alcohol and plastic toys all pumped into my head before I even understood what was going on. And then they regulated, and now I can't have watched if I have kids now, they're not going to see any adverts for cigarettes. So things have changed, but I say we even need to go further than that with advertising. So it's not just gacha games. Like, I think this is the whole world that we live in is corrupted by this horrific greed and psychological manipulation. This is just another example of it, and this particular person is an example of someone who's particularly susceptible and gone quite far down that road.
Games being pay to win and having ridiculous amounts of money that you can spend to win. I just don't like the loot boxes. Like, and that's what the gacha games are, is they're loot boxes.
Parents don't know?
Yeah.
I don't know if his parents need to know, depending on how old he is. It's relative to who's spending what money in what place here.
Okay.
How do they not know?
So that is an intro video. Let's
it's
get
his money
into it. This is gaming revenue visualized for the past 20 years.
I love it. I love a sexy graph like that. Although this one's kind of confusing because of all the wobbly lines, but really interesting. Yeah. Should we just? I'm just going to get this up if I can on my own and have a look at it. The rise of gaming revenue visualized. Okay, we'll start over here. We're talking about arcades. 1972, I wasn't alive. 1978, I wasn't alive. But arcades took the lion's share of money. And underneath it, the green line underneath is consoles. Now, I didn't really realise that in the 70s consoles were pushing. But I suppose I had an Atari when I was a kid that was like old. So I don't remember exactly when the Atari came out. Okay, the 80s, I'm alive. The NES comes out in 1985. So console, look how consoles, how it shrinks, how the whole market shrinks in the 80s as well, in a way, doesn't it? In the 70s to 80s, it's a big market in the arcades, and then it starts to shrink. PC arrives, this blue line on top is PC, and so the whole market shrinks, and arcade maintains its dominance. This is when Nintendo come out in the middle of a time when console gaming is at its like weakest. Smallest part of the market, but I suppose they grow that part of the market, don't they? Look, I suppose they grow that part of the market. So I've got a NES, I've got a Game Boy. I also love going to arcades when I can, but my parents won't give me loads of money to spend on an arcade machine, and they don't want to stand in the arcades with me while I play it. So that's how I rolled. I was on the console. All this now, Super NES, Game Boy, yeah, I understand that. PC is there, it exists, yeah. Handheld arrives with the Game Boy. Interesting, they put it as its own category there. Handheld arrives with the Game Boy. This all makes sense to me. This is fine. Then we're going to move across. We're saying Doom and the PC starting to take off. Doom, games like that. I actually had a PC in our house. My mum needed it for work and stuff, and I played a bit of Doom on that. Yeah, The Sims 2000 there. So now we're into the modern world. The Nokia phone, mobile gaming. Tommy Palm, who created Candy Crush, who's in my documentary that I did. I did a documentary about gaming. If you want to watch it on our channel on YouTube, you go to Ganji Kid, and you go to videos. And you search for indie, like that. I think it's top one there, Indie Game Development Paradise. So in this, I met Tommy Palm and asked him about a bit of stuff. Here he is. This is Tommy Palm. He created Candy Crush, and he was telling me in that documentary that you can see on my channel that he started making games for phones at that time, thinking it was going to take off, and it took a while before it did, and he had a bit of a hard time. Working on it before it did. So I can see here now what he means. Candy Crush here in 2012 was his first game that took off, but he was making games all the way through this, and it was growing, but look how it took off at the end here. All the while, where's that market share? Like, the market's getting bigger, like physically the market is growing. It's maintaining at around this stage, but in the final stages it actually explodes. Look, so it's interesting that in the 90s and the early 2000s, PC, arcades, consoles, handhelds, but we'll call them like that. A Game Boy didn't, a Game Boy counted, but I still had a NES and a SNES. So that's the Xbox, the PlayStation, the Nintendos of the world. They're all fighting for this market share, and it's fairly stable, the amount of market share that there is. And the people that lose is the arcade. People prefer to stay at home and play on their good machines that are better than arcades and change the games around than go in the arcade and spend money in the arcades. That's who loses. The arcade never really picks up again. It maintains a very small sliver of market share before really quite petering out in today's world. But at least maintains some sort of, I suppose there'll be novelty factor. There'll be always an arcade machine at your local chippy or something, I don't know, or on the ferry or somewhere. But arcade is initially the industry giant, and it's the one that dies out in favour of not PC really, although PC maintains growth, not consoles, which go up and down in their market share. In their this console line is actually kind of wibbly wobbly. So it maintains a market, but it doesn't explode and grow. Handheld, again, not really, we're talking about specifically handheld machines. They're slightly growing, but it's the mobile market that takes off in today's day and age, isn't it? Look, the mobile market is now bigger and is contributed to this doubling in the entire market share. It's doubled the entire market. Before mobile gaming, you had a games market. That's still there. That is actually still there. But fuck off your Game Boy, fuck off your handhelds. They've all gone, because if you want a handheld, you've got a mobile. And not only did it eat handheld completely, but it created its own sector. Like, there are people that mobile gaming has reached that weren't playing PCs, that weren't playing consoles, and have not decided to give up their console and give up their PC in favour of mobile. It's a different market, and it might be there's some overlapping there. It might be some people have got a PC and they mobile game. It might be that, or it might be that it's a different market entirely. It's probably some of both, isn't it? We can't tell from this graph. Really interestingly, right at the top, really interesting, is VR. Starting off as this little purple sliver, which has had a bit of a squeeze of the toothpaste, but it's started to sliver off again. But as we've seen, things can sliver off and explode again, so don't count out VR. But cloud gaming just taking off there, cloud gaming. And whilst VR might be predicted as the thing of the future, and Tommy Palm, who created Candy Crush, once he sold his company, now creates VR games at his company, Resolution Games, which you can see in our indie game development documentary. Interestingly, Fortnite makes up a big chunk of this. You don't necessarily think of Fortnite as a mobile game, but it's a free-to-play. It's ported to mobile. Epic's on mobile, like Candy Crush. But the cloud gaming might be the thing in the future. Everyone thinks VR might be the thing in the future, but cloud gaming there, right at the top. Who knows which part of this market might be stolen or expanded through cloud gaming. Certainly mobile and cloud gaming could work hand in hand. It's a really interesting graph, that is. It's a really interesting look at how gaming has changed over the years. And notably, arcade suffered. It would do. You make sense. PC and console have not. The PC market has started to grow, and that's based on the cost of the PC coming down. Sorry, Roger, I just missed your questions, but I'll answer them in just a second. The PC market has started to grow, and that's because the cost of a PC is coming down, isn't it? I wouldn't have been able to afford this box that I've got in the house here now, but I can now. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to make a difference. And consoles, I'm surprised to see between PlayStation and Xbox, Nintendo, Sony, all of them, that market has not managed to expand. I suppose once you've reached market saturation in the early 2000s of people who like consoles, you get the new Xbox, you get the new PlayStation or whatever, but where are the new people liking consoles? And maybe some people grow out of it, and maybe some people are born into it, but the growth up market there is mobile. It's the big, and out of all of them, this is what's worth noting. Final point is the final tallies. Mobile's 85 billion, PC is 40 billion, and console's 33 billion. So mobile is worth more than PC and console put together. So if you're making games in today's day and age and you want to make money, then you're too late. You should have been making mobile in the early 2000s. But now you want to start on cloud or VR. But in the early 2000s, if you'd been on mobile, you'd be rich like Charlie over here, Tommy Palm. So that's an interesting look at that. Let's see what they make of this graph.
You might notice in the beginning, all gaming revenue came from arcades and consoles.
Yeah.
Then we added the PC to the mix.
Yeah.
In the late 80s. Then handheld comes along. And then right around 2000, okay, right around the millennium, they start to add mobile. You might notice,
Jesus,
mobile has gone
at the red.
from a little bit of gaming revenue in 2007.
Wait, he's moved himself over the other side. I moved my chat in respect of him being on that side of the screen, and now he's moved on the other side, chuffer.
To more than everything else combined today. Mobile is now bigger than PC and console and cloud and
What's insane to me about...
Before Asmon gets started, like, I've made my little commentary on that. I didn't feel like I needed to shout at you. I'm not being rude about Atrioc, and if you like Atrioc, fair enough. I'm not being rude about your favourite streamer, but I find it a little bit like, yeah, like, and the mobile fucking gaming is fucking like, it's like yelling at me. Is that what I'm like when I get on my cob about politics?
It is like, this is 2010. So mobile was already raking in big fucking money in 2010.
Yeah, Dude, but Asmon, 2010 to me is like yesterday. Isn't it? 2010 is like modern times, even though it's not, is it? It's now 10 years ago, but to me it's like yesterday.
I thought it happened in I didn't realize it's been happening for so long. That's crazy.
VR combined. How did they do that? How did mobile reach these fucking astronomical revenues so quickly?
There's more people have...
My guess, if you can take a minute just to keep the saliva in your mouth while you shout at me, my guess is that they were able to reach a wider market because everyone's got a phone, haven't they? Like, people who didn't play games before suddenly have got Snake on their phones. So, like, once you, I think... excuse me, once you've been indoctrinated as well, there's like, how do I put this? You build up habits, not indoctrinated, that's a funny word to use here because it wasn't deliberate, but you build up habits. So you've got Snake on your phone and you play a bit of Snake every day on your phone. Then you get the new phone, you actually look for what the new game is. Oh, what's the colour game? Oh, I've got a colour game now. Oh, hello. And then you get another new phone and you've got a couple of games, but now you're on apps and now you have to get them off the App Store, but some of them are free. So you get the new free game on your phone because look what my phone can do now. I remember when an iPhone, an iPad could have Grand Theft Auto on it. I've downloaded and bought Grand Theft Auto for like £12, even not like Grand Theft Auto 2, not not the newest one, like an old one, but because it was as good as a PlayStation, I was like, wow, that's amazing. I never played it on the phone because it was a right fucking nightmare to play on the phone. So I've wasted £12. I already bought that once the first time round on PlayStation. Anyway, I believe that process of you get used to playing a game on your phone and then it starts to cost money, but then so does everything, is the way they've done that. I don't, it's access to a wider market, of course, and it's habit forming because people are on their phones forming habits.
Have a more effective way of parting consumers from their money.
Yes.
And we are starting to see that seep into all aspects of AAA gaming.
We are seeing that.
And that is why I would like to take the time today to sort of give you some defense. To let you understand some of the tricks that...
What would you call it even if you're American, what would you call it if you were going to spend from the government on armies and things like that, on rockets and armies? What kind of spending is that? Is it defense spending? Is that what they say in the Senate? Right, we're going to talk about the defense budget. They don't do that, they say defense, because that's the word.
Marketers and game designers use to separate you from your money.
All right, let's see.
So, I chose one game in particular to kind of follow the story through.
Which
this
one's
applies
it
to a
gonna be?
lot of games, but I chose one in particular because I think it's one of the best at it. Genshin.
Don't you? Right, you. Right, you. What are you saying about my Genshin? What are you saying about my waifus? What are you saying about Genshin Impact, mate? Hey, watch yourself. Careful now, because I'm quite enjoying Genshin Impact myself. Quite enjoying it. You mind your tongue.
Beautiful, gorgeous world we see here of Genshin Impact is essentially
Why am I not surprised?
a far more predatory casino.
No. See, I don't agree with this. You know Diablo, the recent Diablo. The recent Diablo is a fucking nightmare of the new Diablo. What's it? Is it Immortal? The new one is an absolute nightmare of monetization. I'm not going to go over it here because it's some other conversation, but look, people have spent 100k on the game. It's absolutely a nightmare of monetization. You can't even do things if you don't spend money. Yeah, that is what he's got on here. That's a slot machine where you pull the handle and instead of the numbers going round and the fruits, instead you've got Diablo Immortal playing and you open up your Rift thing at the end. That's what that is. Genshin Impact's not that. Genshin Impact is an arcade machine with a stick and buttons and the game and you're running around and doing all that, and then stuck on next to it is this if you want to get a new character. That is wrong. That's categorically wrong, and I won't have it. It's a bad analogy because I was thinking of doing this. I was going to do a Diablo Immortal video. I was going to make a conversational video about it. Everyone else covered it. I didn't have to, but my thumbnail was going to be a slot machine with that on it. In the you pull you see the picture slot machine. My slot machine. I've done a song with the word slot machine in it. See these slot machines now? You see how they're like computers? So they've got computer screens, digital screens. I was going to get an image of a slot machine, and instead of that, I was going to put Diablo Immortal in it. Like that. That's what Diablo Immortal is. You put your money in, you play the game, and then you get your rewards based on the slot machine. Like, that's what it is. Genshin Impact is not that. You couldn't fit the game of Genshin Impact on there without a joystick and other buttons, could you? You couldn't do Genshin Impact without the joystick and the other buttons. So this is a false analogy. In fact, if you want to use that analogy, fine. Diablo Immortal fits that premise, fits that analogy. This doesn't quite fit. You need another machine with joystick and buttons and a game, and then it's stuck on the side. I said it right at the start. Genshin Impact is not a gacha game. It's an ARPG with gacha mechanics as monetization. So I don't think this is a fair analogy.
It's the first truly AAA gacha game.
Yeah.
Now,
well, it's more than that. I think you're confused there as well, because AAA is an industry term because AAA is silly, isn't it? AAA is silly. Where did AAA come from? We used to have AA, didn't we? Or single A? I don't know. Let's have a look. Because it is a silly term, but AAA is an industry term used in the late 1990s. It was borrowed from the credit industry's bond ratings, representing the safest opportunity to meet financial goals. So if you're making a game in-house, you might call it AAA because you spend a lot of money on it. It's a guaranteed seller. It's a big top-line title. It's... I don't have to explain it any further than that, do I? But it's not a real classification. So I suppose you could say Genshin Impact is a AAA game because they're spending a lot of money on it. It's a top-line title. But no, like in an industry where in the 90s you were selling physical copies on shelves, and this AAA game would definitely cost $60. But maybe, a lower budget, mid-range thing could cost $20, not guaranteed to make the money back, whatever. That's where that sits. Genshin Impact can't even go on the shelf. It doesn't come in a box. It's 4 years of development. It's more money than anyone's ever spent on creating a computer game before, all in one big heave. There's no, I think false comparison.
A lot of these gacha mechanics we're going to talk about have been around in various forms across mobile for a long time. Genshin Impact is not just on mobile. It's a AAA game across consoles and PC.
Again, AAA game, getting confused. It's a multi-platform experience. You know how we looked at this graph? Do you remember how we looked at this, the rise of gaming? And at the very top here, we got cloud gaming, and it's just starting to take off. Cloud gaming is where you don't own... It's really interesting to me, cloud gaming. It's where you don't have to own the stuff, look. So, you can connect to the internet, and then the internet has got the games, all the clever stuff, the big computer. I don't have to have a big computer anymore in my house. I connect to the internet, and then the internet sends me the game to my TV or mobile, doesn't it? So recently we had a game on the Switch that was PlayStation 5 generation, and I was like, how do they make it on the Switch? And what they did was, I didn't own it at all. I logged on and played it, and then when I turned off, it gone. Like, that's the future of gaming, isn't it? That surely is the future of gaming. Who's going to want to buy a great big expensive machine that can do all this stuff when the internet can do it, and your phone can do it, and your telly can do it with just a controller? Like, in the long run, people are going to want less and less to buy the thing themselves, and more to access it on the internet. It's quite a natural progression, I think. That's what Genshin Impact is, isn't it? Yeah, you can do it on your computer, yeah, you can do it on your PC or whatever, but it's this. If I'm not on the internet, I not play Genshin Impact. It live on internet. Cloud gaming. So it does exist on this graph as well, doesn't it? They're saying it's mobile gaming in this big mobile 85 billion mobile slot. But in 10 years' time, when this graph changes, where will Genshin Impact sit? Because it's not, you can play it on your PC, can't you? You can play it on your console. So it's not any of these three things, is it? Or it's all of these three things where you're getting confused. You're getting confused.
And it takes all of these powerful psychological...
Oh, dude, like, whenever...
Do you know what? I hadn't watched this before, didn't know what I was going to say. Atrioc, he's not offending me. He's not making me think, what a dickhead. He seems all right and everything. But I just think he's a little bit confused in these points here that he's just made. And this is the content of the fucking thing, isn't it? He's like telling a story through certain points. And I've shown you why that slot machine illustration is slightly wrong. There is a slot machine. It's Diablo Immortal. You put money in, you run the rift, effectively putting the handle, and then you watch it go round and round on the slot machine while you're running the rift, and then at the end it gives you a reward. Genshin Impact's got that stuck on the side, but the actual machine, you'd have to have a joystick and buttons, so that was confusing. And this confusion of where Genshin Impact sits in the market, whether it's a mobile game, a gacha game, whatever... Obviously, we've just determined that it exists on the cloud and everyone accesses it through different... And yet he hasn't spotted it's a cloud game.
I tweeted about Genshin Impact. So I had like a test where I tweeted out...
I remember this. Asmongold just tweeted the word Genshin Impact and saw what response was. And then he just tweeted the words Final Fantasy. And Genshin Impact got huge response. Genshin Impact, unbeknownst to us... normal people in the Western world, there's another world out there. There's a whole fucking world out there. And Genshin Impact's popular across the board in the rest of it. So if you're in Brazil, you know what Genshin Impact is. If you're in Indonesia, you know what Genshin Impact is. If you're in the Philippines, if you're in India, you know what Genshin Impact is. But in the West, in England, in America, you know what Call of Duty is. You've maybe not heard again. You are starting to hear about it now. I'll tell you, you are starting to hear about it now. But yeah, Asmon tested that water with his tweet.
Just the words Genshin Impact, and then I tweeted out just the words Final Fantasy 14, and then after that World of Warcraft, and Genshin Impact got the most likes by a mile. People fucking love this game.
So why aren't you playing it?
Strips away all of like the annoying spammy ad stuff and puts it in an actually fun to play beautiful game.
Imagine
and
the
so
game being...
So it strips away, or you've got to take these things, got to listen to these. It strips away all the advertising stuff and puts it in a fun game. Yes and no. Obviously the game is the advert for the characters. That's the way it works, isn't it? The whole game is a big advert for the characters in a way. But it's not like traditional advertising where you might get more crude. I think the point stands what they were trying to say at the start. They're trying to get you emotionally invested with the story, emotionally invested with the characters. Now, is that, you're going to get emotionally invested and you're going to want to roll the slot machine. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So that's fucking awful, isn't it? That's gacha gaming. Awful gacha gaming. Instead of having adverts, like, that you understand, that at least they're good old adverts that you understand. No, now you've taken it away. Now you're just in love with Amber, and now they have to roll for Amber or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Now you're in love with Jean and you have to roll for Jean. Oh, they've got you on a different level. It's awful. Well, just hang on. What about if and I don't watch these films or go to the but so I'm gonna I'll just put Marvel. What about Marvel merch? Let's just put that, Marvel merch. What about watching a film or a TV program and it being a big advert for all this merchandise? What about watching a film and then creating a character who is going to be popular amongst the kids and everyone's going to like, so they can sell lots of merchandise? Like, what about that? Isn't that the same fucking thing? Like, here you've got an actual cup. You've got an actual cup which will end up in a landfill one day. But in gacha games, you don't actually have a physical thing. There's no NFT or anything like that. You've just got, like, your money spent and your enjoyment of what you got on the game. Like, you've virtually got it. In the same way as you play World of Warcraft and you physically don't have anything on that. That's gaming for you. It's always been that way. You've never got anything, unless you've got the actual box in your hand and the thing on disc. Like, all of my achievements in my old Xbox have gone in the bin when the Xbox stopped working. You know what I'm saying? Like, what have I still got these days? Doesn't matter. That's a different conversation. But let's not let's be fair about this. If we're going to say that Genshin Impact is bad because they've sublimated the advertising, you no longer can see the advertising. Instead, you're playing the advertising and you're enjoying and you're part of the advertising. You're tweeting it yourself. You are the advertising. That's today's world of social media influencers, Marvel movies, and like McDonald's fucking lunchboxes. That's it. That's what it is. We've sublimated that. You wear it on your t-shirts. I'm doing it now. Like, you wear it on your t-shirts. We are advertising. So, okay, that's my point here. Let's see where they're going with it.
It has removed all of the barriers that were stopping people before from getting sucked into these kind of worlds.
Yeah.
And that's why it's been phenomenally successful. It made $1 billion, I think, in this past year.
I need to make
more than that. Actually, more than $1 billion in its first year of play.
Now, that's interesting. I mean, they didn't mention what I just said about supplementing advertising, so obviously missed that point. But making all that money, I don't know. I haven't seen all the figures against all the other games. I know Candy Crush made a fucking loads of money, and I've just seen that market where it's a big billions and billions of dollar market. So we're talking about a game that is universally enjoyed across the board. Like, there's not many games that are played in both China and America and Japan and Brazil and Indonesia, Philippines. Like, name a country. There's not that many games that have got that reach. So who's competing with Genshin Impact? Yes, they make a lot of money. But in what space are they making it? Remember, we just saw the mobile world. Like, I mean, it seems like, wow, they're making loads of money. Is that necessarily a bad thing? But look, this graph, the mobile market grew. It didn't mean that the PC and console market shrunk. The mobile market grew. And I don't know where they're putting Genshin Impact in this. I don't know where it stands in this 2020 total. Maybe it just preempted Genshin Impact, this graph. But they might be making more money on top. They might be taking it from a mobile market. They might be factored in with the mobile market. But it's when you compare to something that's making like Grand Theft Auto on the PlayStation, Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PlayStation or something, or League of Legends. Like, imagine the universal appeal of Genshin Impact versus the narrow niche appeal of League of Legends. Like, it's just, again, it's apples and oranges, isn't it? Fortnite you maybe can compare because that's an online game that you don't have to pay money. You know, it's free to play, it's big, it's almost internationally recognised, universally, globally recognised. I don't know though. But yeah, you know, we're looking at that sort of world, aren't we? So it's hard to make a comparison there and say that's a lot of money or not a lot of money. It's obviously a lot of money, but when you're selling into all of these markets, when you've got this huge market appeal and saturation, is it a lot of money? Is it a lot of money compared to Disney or Marvel, who are doing the same thing with their movies, merchandising, tie-ins with fast food? And do you know what I'm saying? Is it the same as that? You know, is it the same as that?
What makes it a gacha as you can.
Yeah, it will end up in a landfill. He says he doesn't have a problem with the pay-to-win game, just the gambling. That's true, that's what Asmon was saying. This other guy, I don't know what, you know, he's making these points about these gacha games, so I'm just riffing on this Atrioc's points here as well. Asmon's got his perspective on the pay-to-win, specifically because of the World of Warcraft and the MMOs, and he's only playing Tower of Fantasy because it's in that genre, and not playing Genshin because it's not. But we discussed pay-to-win a lot separately, but this is slightly different. This is how they trick players into spending. So Asmon's against gambling, maybe, but is he against psychological manipulation of the youth? I am. I'm wearing a fucking marketing creation on my thing, but, you know, I love Nintendo. Is that okay for me to say that? You know, am I a big hypocrite? Did they give me a lot of special... did they indoctrinate me, or did they gift me with joy? You know, I don't know, but yeah, these are things that are coming up for me.
Cannot say I want that and just buy it. Everything you want makes it a gacha as you can't be in dollars in like its first year of play. What makes it a gacha is you cannot say I want that and just buy it.
Okay, what makes it a gacha is you can't say I want it and just buy it. I disagree. In World of Warcraft, there are games like for forever now. There's been things that you can't just walk up and buy. In all games that I've played over the years, there have been things that I couldn't just walk up and buy. In certain games, it might be special character unlocks. It might be special weapons that you unlock. The Master Sword cannot be walked up and purchased in Zelda. So there's loads of stuff in games that you can't walk up and buy. There are even, like, you might argue that skins in Fortnite, you know, you have to earn them by grinding it, and then you get them through the battle pass. You don't just walk up and buy it, although you can buy a lot of the skins now. So I don't know, like, that's not what makes it a gacha game. Again, I think slightly confused. This is the definition of gacha game. It's come from Japan. It's called gachapon, and you put the money in, you twist the knob, and you get either what you hoped you'd get on the front big picture, or one of these other things that's much, much lower down the list, but much more probable to get it. And it's very much like a gumball machine, but it's got this slight difference, which is that it's a gambling machine, and that has been turned into a monetization practice within video games. And some video games don't have anything else, they just have this, and then it's just a gacha game. But others are video games with that as a monetization system. So it would be like calling World of Warcraft a subscription or a microtransaction game instead of a MMO. Genshin Impact is an ARPG with a gacha monetization system if you want those characters.
Everything you want is behind some sort of lottery system.
Everything you want's behind a lottery system. Again, disagree. Things that I've got that I wanted in the game that I didn't have a lottery for include Noelle, include Lisa, Amber, that debate club. I suppose it did come through wishing, didn't it, the debate club, but it wasn't like the good thing. And they gave me the free wishes so that I could take part in the slot machine and get my ascribed pity-timed stuff. Like, Genshin Impact has ensured that I will get X amount of Primo gems if I play, and I'm getting free rolls on the gambling machine, and if you roll it enough times you get your free stuff. So like, you can walk up and pay for it if you consider the pity timer. So he's wrong again. You can't just walk up and pay for it. Well, you can. name something in Genshin Impact, I can give you a cash value on how many times I will have to roll maximum before I get it, and that's the cost of it. And if I get it before, I'm lucky and it didn't cost as much. But if I go all the way to Pity Timer and get it, that's how much it costs. So people are confused, but you can walk up, name the thing on the whatever's on the banner right now. I can get it if I spend £2,000. That's the cost. You might get a special offer, you might get lucky, you might roll a few times and just get it, and lucky you. But if you don't and you run to Pity, you don't go forever. There is an end, and it's Pity, and that's the maximum cost. So maybe I appreciate what I'm sounding like here. It's like I'm defending gambling. I'm not. I just think he's giving an incorrect definition of what's going on in Genshin Impact, and this is why I didn't want to play Genshin Impact in the first place. Stuff like this put me off it. I saw it as a slot machine. I'm never going to play Diablo because I know that is literally that. You pull the handle, Diablo runs, and you get your reward slot machine. I'm never going to do that. But Genshin Impact is like different, and it's a shame that I would have missed out, because I missed out on, I could have been playing this a year ago and enjoying it a lot more.
That adds excitement and additional length to the game. Let's show you some more examples of the money they make.
Excitement and additional length. I don't know, because I'm not at that stage in the game. I finished all the story quests, but I'm waiting for the new expansion, which is going to add excitement and additional length. And I've been given lots of events to compete in and take part in, which have given me lots of extra primos, which have added to the length and excitement. If anything, in my Genshin experience, I would say that I'm getting quite a lot of 4-star characters reasonably quickly. I've been playing for a few months and I've got a few, and it's coming to the point where I'm getting duplicates. So those little, slots that I'm missing, those few ones, I'm going to find it harder to hit them on the lottery system, aren't I? But I will probably, I'm free to play, bear in mind, but by the end of the next expansion, I'll probably have 75% of what's easy to get, and the other stuff will be these 5 stars that are a bit more elusive. There won't be that much for dragging it out for me. It has to be in-game content to drag it out for me, and lo and behold, they've got a 4-year plan. So by the time I'm finished with one thing, they've already released another thing. It's not that you've released Genshin Impact and you want to keep people playing, so you have to put slot machines on the side and that stretches it out. It's like you've never played the game if you think that, because I cannot have time. I haven't even got time to do the wishes on my streams because we've got so much content to get through. It would really cost 2k to get the banner if you had the worst luck and Pity timed everything. We might as well, just for the sake of doing it now. I've done it before, but we might as well, just for the sake of doing it now. Calculator. So 160 primos is 1 wish, and 90 wishes is Pity timer, but you got a 50-50, and you could fail that. So 90 wishes, and I fail the Pity timer. I fail it. I go all the way to Pity, and then I get the wrong 5-star. Not the 5-star on the banner, the other one, the 50-50. Oh. So then you get another 90 wishes, and it might be slightly under, because as you approach that other 90, the odds of you getting it actually increase. They put a Pity gradient, so that as you, let's say I've got to 70, it's no longer a 0.6 now. Now it's like a 2.0 or something, because they want to increase the chance of you getting it as you get close to the end. But let's say I run all the way to the second Pity. Let's double that. So that's how many wishes it costs. Yeah? Well, it's primos, isn't it? It's confusing. Divide it by the 160 is 180. That's right, okay? So in Genshin Impact, and I'll just turn the Firefox off. This is my wishing system. If I want to spend my primos on wishing, I've got to buy primos then. Let's go in the shop. Let's assume I'm not even getting any, this is because I've been saving my primos and I've got 10,000, but I could have not. Ignore what the game gives you for free. This is on top of what the game gives you for free. I've got 10,000 for free. I've got basically halfway to Pity timer there, haven't I? I've got 90 wishes in the bank or so. But let's say I have to buy them. You can't buy them here with this. This is the Star Glitter Exchange. You want to purchase them with Prima Gems, and it's 160 for each wish. So Crystal top up, and now we're getting confusing. Yeah? So how much is 160? It's confusing, isn't it? Let's take the top one. Let's say Big Spender. We're giving it the benefit of Big Spender because we're... Hang on. leave. I don't want to pay for anything. No, thank you. We're giving it the benefit of assuming we're a big spender because we're spending the money on the wishes. We're not just going to go for the, because it changes in value, I believe. But £89.90 for 6480. Yeah, £90 for 6480. So we go back to this. We've got wait, £90 for 6480. I did 180 times 160. That's how many primos we need. Let's divide it by the 6480. So we need to spend £90 4.4 times. That's how many bundles we need to spend. That's how many 6480s we get fit in the 2880. So it's confusing, but I need to spend £90 4.4 times to hit pity. So let's times that by £90. That's £400. That's to guarantee the character. C1. C none. C none. Yeah, C none. That's to guarantee the character. If you're paying for the primos on the banner and you're a bit of a big spender and you're doing the top line spend and you're not getting the bonus, you're just doing 6480 for 89.99, then that's what we're looking at. How come I've gone out of this? And you've got that, yeah. So then that's not it over. You want to see 5 because you're a big spender. So times that by 5 and that's £2,000. That's where my working out comes from. Like, you know, people who actually spend on this game want the C5s, don't they? That's the top line. If you want to go out and buy the top line character, it costs you £2,000 on the banner. Along the way, you're going to get those other 3, and you're probably going to get the other 3s up as well. So you factor that in if you want for value, but that's the actual cost. You can walk up and buy it. It's on a pity timer, and I'm never ever going to spend any money on it. So that's my approach. But if you want, you can go and spend money on a fucking Incredible Hulk doll if you want. So you can spend money on all sorts of things. I don't agree with gambling. I'm never going to promote gambling. I don't think you should put your money into this and gamble it. I think you should get the free primos and enjoy what you get. Watch my other videos for my breakdown on how gacha games work and what you should and shouldn't. You know, it's up to you though, isn't it? We're reacting to this.
These are 5 of the recent characters released in Genshin Impact.
It's essentially 400 quid, gets you literally everything on the banner though by that point. Yeah. By that point, you're going to, like, I don't know how guaranteed it is, but you're going to get all the other things, the other 3 characters on this banner. It's these other 3. Every time you fail that, every 10 wishes, you get a guaranteed 4-star, or it might be the 5-star, but it's a 4-star. And every time you do, yeah, you know, you over the time, if you're going to do 180 wishes, you're probably going to get everything on the banner. Yeah, agreed. So there's a bit of an advantage there, but you don't. The thing is, you don't have to do all that money that gets spent. I've saved up my primos and I got Klee, so I didn't spend any money. Like that's another. There's another issue, which is that you might be getting your primos through a battle pass, or you might be getting them through that Welkin Moon, and you might be getting a much better deal than that, and you might be not. You know, you might be saving it up over time and not just going in and spending money. But we do have to accept that it's set so that that's the cost. We have to accept that, don't we? He's moved himself onto the side of the screen again, so I've got to move chat again. If he moves again, he's going to have chat on his face forever. I just fed up with the chopper.
And the amount of money they made in a single day.
No, I do want to make this clear. I'm only having a bit of a joke. I'm sure if I met him, I'd enjoy his company and, you know, buy him a nice coffee and say what a nice chuffer he was. So I'm not digging at him. I'm just responding to the things he's saying in the manner I feel through the things I think. It's not personal.
Rich, I have all of them. Is that right?
15 million for Zhongli, 9 million for Albedo, 14.8 million in Ghana. This is one day.
What's going on here? This is the money they took. I'm assuming, yeah? That's the money they took. Play following the release of a new character in Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact, and the amount of money they made in a single day.
So it's 15 million, yeah? So we're talking a game that's played, like, all over the world. I don't know how... See, this is hard to work out, isn't it? Because it's a lot of money. It certainly is. But it's a different premise from other games that I've ever experienced. It's not even like Candy Crush where everyone's playing it on their phone. Like, this crosses all the boundaries of different consoles and PCs and phones. It crosses demographic ranges. Like, hello, I'm not like necessarily, or maybe I am the right demographic for this, I don't know, but like, lots of people like anime, lots of people like Japanese culture as well, so Chinese culture in general. I mean, it's apples and oranges again, isn't it? So I find it hard to contextualize. Maybe a better way of looking at this would be to look at what films make. Marvel movies opening box office. That's good. It's tiny. I can't, why would you give me a tiny image? Tools, size, large. Like, what's the point in having any tiny images that no one can read? Opening weekend box office, US and Canada. So again, it's hard to judge, isn't it? But we're talking 300 mil. But that's US and Canada. It's not global. So we're talking 300 mil. So compared to a movie, we're doing a bit better, but we need global, don't we? Global box office by domestic debut. This is a bit more confusing for me because it says by domestic debut. Domestic would mean not global. But Black Panther here, domestic post-debut gross, international total. International total, 1.4 billion, Black Panther. International total. I mean, a film doesn't go on and on, does it? You don't keep going back to the cinema to watch the film, but... so maybe, we're looking at a different medium here. Because games and film and music, the music industry was huge, wasn't it? The film industry was huge. The gaming industry is bigger than those industries now. It's bigger than those industries. So maybe we're looking at a different premise here. Maybe that's a better way to contextualize it. It's hard to contextualize it. Maybe I should be looking at what slot machines take on the opening nights in Vegas or something. It's hard to contextualize it. I understand that.
Genshin Impact and the amount of money they made in a single day.
Rich, I have all of them. Is that right?
15 million for Zhong Li.
If that's Rich Campbell in chat saying that he's got all of these characters, then, very jealous.
9 million for Albedo. 14.8 million in Gun. This is one day. Okay? Adding up to billions. So now let me get into some of...
I think the biggest shock here is the biggest breadwinner is the guy. Bro, I thought the girl in the middle would be like fucking 35 million.
Again, it's not what people think, is it? It's not a waifu simulator. It's an ARPG with all this other stuff. Like, I dissed Zhongli earlier for having a brown coat and not being very, interesting and fun. He likes to sit around and do contracts. But maybe he's a really effective character, and when he came out in December 2020... wowed the audience. And it also reflects how the game is pumping at the time, how much this is bizarre. I'm bringing these other factors in. Like, if the game's really hot at the time, more people are in there spending more money. It might tail off by the time Albedo comes, but there may be more people come in by the time Ganyu comes, and it's another influx of new people. And so you've got that, because it's a longer time that we're talking about, aren't we? We're talking about years here. We're over a course of 2 years or 1 year. December the 1st, 2020 to March the 2nd, 2021. So, but we're talking time, and then also we're talking about economics, and we're talking about COVID. People staying at home and spending more money on computer games. How do those things factor in, and how do recessions factor in? And we're talking about global economics because it's a global game. So I don't know what the Brazilian economic situation was in December of 2020, and also in December, more people are spending money on Christmas for other people. So Albedo didn't get as many shouts, but in January they've got their Christmas money in from their nan, so they can spend it on Ganyu.
And this one's got to be at least 25. He was OP? Well, I thought when people play this game for the game, meta and OP. Oh wow, yeah, I would have picked the one in the middle.
The
He's wrong. We're picking the one on the end.
the psychological tricks that they use, okay?
Actually, that's a good point. Like, that's one of the things. Like, I remember I said this in the last video where I talked about Genshin Impact, is a lot of girls play Genshin Impact. Where it's like, I mean, how...
Good point, and I missed the last video, so maybe we've got to go back and react to that, but very good point. It crosses... Well, I said that earlier about demographics. Maybe I suggested that I wasn't the target market, but I don't think... Again, with films, like, it was more clear that Black Panther had a target market, maybe. I've lost that graphic now, so don't worry about that graphic. But films are a bit more broad, aren't they? So maybe we're looking at this in a different way now.
How many girls do you think are playing Escape from Tarkov, right? Like, there are some. I know some, actually. However, the majority...
I'm just going to skirt around his sexist attitude towards some games. And, I mean, he's not completely wrong and he's not completely sexist, but I'm a total believer that sometimes you might say, oh, how many girls are doing this, and is it reflective of girls don't like doing it, or is it more reflective of a culture that's not so welcoming to young girls, and is not the sort of culture that many parents might want their young girls to be around? I mean, and maybe an American... I use an analogy of pool, like, because in England, if you want to play a game of pool or snooker, you have to go to like the men's club where all the boys are playing pool, and there's a bar and it's usually like a pub. But maybe in America it might be more like bowling, and bowling might have changed and become less sexist over the years. But you know, like male dominated environments that are male dominated create an impediment for female participation, and when you remove those impediments, for example online, like maybe that starts to change. And you might say, well, online is, you know, Tarkov's online, but the communities around certain games, the communities around certain styles of games and genre of game, like you know, it's accepted that Call of Duty is a bit of a boys club, isn't it? So anything like that might get seen in that way, and we're talking about marketing on top of that. So why would you want to push Tarkov to girls when it's not your target market? So then you start fashioning the game to make it more appropriate for your target market, and then you've got all these other issues on top. So I think Genshin's really good for that. It's really, apart from the diversity in the cast, there's not enough skin tone diversity for my liking, and probably body shape diversity as well. Apart from that, it's good at appealing to a wide range of people, isn't it? Go on.
Playing that game are guys. Same probably, yeah, there's like 3. And same with Path of Exile. I'm sure there are girls that play the game. DS Lily plays the game. I've seen, I think Annie Fuchsia's played the game before, and a handful of other people too, of course. But it's mostly fucking guys. And I think Genshin Impact is unique in the fact that it actually attracted a large female audience. There's a lot of girls that play Genshin Impact.
That I want you to be ready for.
I don't think it's completely unique. I'll agree with what he's saying. I don't think it's completely unique. I've got a sister, and she played all the games I used to play. All of them. The ones that she loved most were things like Ocarina of Time. She currently plays a lot of Fortnite. But she wasn't really into FPS games, Call of Duty and stuff. Not because of the actual mechanics of the game, because she's recently started playing them and she says she enjoys them. But because of this male-dominated environment and attitude, and, you know, 14-year-olds swearing at each other in lobbies, and, you know, what Call of Duty used to be perceived as, I think. We'd have to get her on to talk about it, but I certainly know that Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, the Zelda series, the Wii itself, like, you're confused again if you think that Genshin Impact is in a unique place in the video game market. Because what Nintendo deliberately did, I mean, Asmon's not confused, I'm sure he'll understand what I'm saying here and will agree. So the Wii was designed, and it put me, I remember this, I came back from uni, my mate had a GameCube, and I loved the GameCube. I didn't have one myself, but I thought, finally, like, how do I explain this? Like, the N64 was a massive step up from the SNES. It was 3D gaming. Ocarina of Time was a huge breakthrough moment. The things that we'd always dreamed of doing in 3 dimensions, we now could do. Mario, you know, everyone knows what I'm talking about. That 3D Mario might not be the best Mario. It might not have been the most perfect in lots of different ways. You know, there's lots of glitches that they exploit on the speedruns now, aren't there? But being able to run around in 3D in Mario, like that in the way they did it. Oh, you know, polygons and all, don't care. Brilliant. So it was a big step. And then I didn't perceive the GameCube as being such a big step, but it was, like, in terms of like graphical fidelity, and yeah, it was kind of a big step. I couldn't appreciate it myself because I didn't have one. And then there was lots of competing machines, weren't there, at that time? There were PlayStations around, Xboxes. So it wasn't like when Nintendo created the N64, it stood on a pedestal on its own in a way, didn't it? Like, the market was, we looked at these markets recently, didn't we, just now? The market had changed by the time we had the GameCube. And then, so Nintendo went in this really weird direction. I should focus on what I'm trying to do. Let me just roll my cigarette and then I'll focus on what I'm trying to do. Nintendo went in a really weird direction for me, for my perception. But for them, it was about, we just looked at those markets. It's all about markets, isn't it? Nintendo wanted to reach a different audience. I think they called it blue sky thinking or something like that, or blue sea marketing, where there were people that had never played a game before, that like a Nintendo system, wouldn't consider playing a Mario game or anything like that, but actually we're humans and they enjoy games, so can we create something that they can all enjoy? And that was the Wii, wasn't it? The interactive, everyone can do it, controller stick, your nan's bowling in the lounge, your granddad's having a go on the you know, the sword fighting game or the boxing game, and you know, every age range, women as well, women can do this as well. It was advertised in a much more universal sense, more like a modern appliance like an Alexa rather than a gaming console, wasn't it? And that's why a large market of the more traditional, what you might have called the target market or the core audience, they're already on the way to PlayStation anyway. Young boys had already been lured by that 18 plus gaming experience of the PlayStation. We're not trying to pander to little kids here on PlayStation. Oh, we're raw and we're Grand Theft Auto and we're killing people and we're prostitutes. Anyway, look, so the markets, the demographics have been shifting. So to think that Genshin Impact was unique because it appealed to girls where no other games had done before, silly, because that's the whole point of the Wii U. That's what it did. And then following that, not the Wii U, sorry, the Wii. Following that, the next generation of conversation, we had Gamergate then, didn't we? Because suddenly you had this larger influx of female gamers, and they weren't going to stand for some of the standard practices of a male-dominated, and maybe computer gaming development had been male-dominated, and maybe it was a sort of pubescent testosterone, like Duke Nukem vibe that had to be grown out of. In fact, again, on my indie development game documentary here, a really interesting person called Lucy, she's in this game documentary, and she talks about exactly that I was talking about how gaming has grown out of this prepubescent stage, and now you can say a lot more with games. I think that's what she says. And she worked for Ubisoft, so she knows what she's talking about. So you can watch that on my channel there, Indie Game Development Paradise, Ganji Kid. So yeah, I disagree with this. I agree with the principle. Genshin Impact appeals to all gamers, female, male, old, young, whatever. It appeals to a lot of people who like anime culture as well, and I think it appeals to internet culture. And I think, like I said before, it's global and it's an online service. It's different from other games, so it's hard to compare it to these other things. But I think it's reached a lot more people for those reasons. Yes.
Number 1. A bonus for first-time sign-up.
Right, so now we're finally in, and it's taken, we're 8 minutes, and I've an hour and 35, so this is going to take a long time for me to react to this. I don't think I'm going to react to the whole video in one, am I? But we're at 8 minutes, and we're finally into the first, so maybe I say, you know, that's been the intro, and like, for us, we'll carry on stream for a bit longer, but for my edits, I'm going to put edit this, Scott, edit this. Whoa, in the edit. Can you see me in the edit? Edit this and just have that as episode 1.